Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The direction or path along which something moves or along which it lies. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. The heading seemed to have little to do with the text. A horizontal, or nearly horizontal, passageway in a mine. The direction or path along which something moves or along which it lies. Specifically design a product, event, or activity for a certain public. Have an ambitious plan or a lofty goal. An anticipated outcome that is intended or that guides your planned actions. It was created with the conscious aim of answering immediate needs. Move into a desired direction of discourse. The goal intended to be attained, and which is believed to be attainable. Intend, something, to move towards a certain goal. He aimed his fists towards his opponent's face. Propose or intend. I aim to arrive at noon. Point or cause to go, blows, weapons, or objects such as photographic equipment, towards. Please don't aim at your little brother. Direct, a remark, toward an intended goal. She wanted to aim a pun. The action of directing something at an object. He took aim and fired. Characteristic way of bearing one's body. The direction or path along which something moves or along which it lies. Dignified manner or conduct. Heraldry consisting of a design or image depicted on a shield. A rotating support placed between moving parts to allow them to move easily. Of a structural member, withstanding a weight or strain. Relevant relation or interconnection. Those issues have no bearing on our situation. Computer science, a tiny electromagnetic coil and metal pole used to write and read magnetic patterns on a disk. Be in charge of. Who is heading this project? A person who is in charge. The head of the whole operation. That which is responsible for one's thoughts, feelings, and conscious brain functions, the seat of the faculty of reason. I couldn't get his words out of my head. Be the first or leading member of a group and excel. This student heads the class. The educator who has executive authority for a school. The upper part of the human body or the front part of the body in animals, contains the face and brains. He stuck his head out the window. Travel in front of, go in advance of others. The procession was headed by John. The part in the front or nearest the viewer. He was at the head of the column. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. The heading seemed to have little to do with the text. A V-shaped mark at one end of an arrow pointer. A difficult juncture. Matters came to a head yesterday. Forward movement. The ship made little headway against the gale. Oral stimulation of the genitals. They say he gives good head. A dense cluster of flowers or foliage. A head of cauliflower. The subject matter at issue. Under the head of minor Roman poets. Direct the course, determine the direction of traveling. The source of water from which a stream arises. They tracked him back toward the head of the stream. A natural elevation, especially a rocky one that jets out into the sea. Grammar, the word in a grammatical constituent that plays the same grammatical role as the whole constituent. A membrane that is stretched taut over a drum. An individual person. Tickets are $5 per head. A projection out from one end. The head of the nail. A rounded compact mass. The head of a comet. A single domestic animal. 200 head of cattle. A user of, usually soft, drugs. The office was full of secret heads. Be in the front of or on top of. The list was headed by the name of the president. Form a head or come or grow to a head. The wheat headed early this year. Nautical. A toilet on board a boat or ship. Remove the head of. Head the fish. Take its rise. These rivers head from a mountain range in the Himalayas. That part of a skeletal muscle that is away from the bone that it moves. The foam or froth that accumulates at the top when you pour an effervescent liquid into a container. The beer had a large head of foam. The front of a military formation or procession. The head of the column advanced boldly. The length or height based on the size of a human or animal head. He is 2 heads taller than his little sister. The pressure exerted by a fluid. A head of steam. The rounded end of a bone that fits into a rounded cavity in another bone to form a joint. The head of the humerus. The striking part of a tool. The head of the hammer. The tip of an abscess, where the pus accumulates. The top of something. The head of the stairs. To go or travel towards. Where is she heading? Usually plural, the obverse side of a coin that usually bears the representation of a person's head. Call heads or tails. Brick that is laid sideways at the top of a wall. Horizontal beam used as a finishing piece over a door or window. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. A framing member crossing and supporting the ends of joists, studs, or rafters so as to transfer their weight to parallel joists, studs, or rafters. A headlong jump, or fall. He took a header into the shrubbery. A machine that cuts the heads off grain and moves them into a wagon. Soccer. The act of hitting the ball with your head. Live unhurriedly, irresponsibly, or freely. My son drifted around for years in California before going to law school. The pervading meaning or tenor. Caught the general drift of the conversation. Be in motion due to some air or water current. The boat drifted on the lake. A force that moves something along. A general tendency to change, as of opinion. Move about aimlessly or without any destination, often in search of food or employment. The laborers drift from one town to the next. Wander from a direct course or at random. Don't drift from the set course. A horizontal, or nearly horizontal, passageway in a mine. They dug a drift parallel with the vein. A large mass of material that is heaped up by the wind or by water currents. A process of linguistic change over a period of time. Be piled up in banks or heaps by the force of wind or a current. Snow drifting several feet high. Be subject to fluctuation. The stock market drifted upward. Cause to be carried by a current. Drift the boats downstream. Drive slowly and far afield for grazing. Drift the cattle herds westwards. Move in an unhurried fashion. The unknown young man drifted among the invited guests. The gradual departure from an intended course due to external influences, as a ship or plane. Vary or move from a fixed point or course. Stock prices are drifting higher. A room or series of rooms where works of art are exhibited. A porch along the outside of a building, sometimes partly enclosed. A horizontal, or nearly horizontal, passageway in a mine. A covered corridor, especially one extending along the wall of a building and supported with arches or columns. A long, usually narrow room used for some specific purpose. Shooting gallery. Narrow recessed balcony area along an upper floor on the interior of a building, usually marked by a colonnade. Spectators at a golf or tennis match. The act of setting and holding a course. A new council was installed under the direction of the king. The concentration of attention or energy on something. He had no direction in his life. The act of managing something. Is the direction of the economy a function of government? A line leading to a place or point. He looked the other direction. A formal statement of a command or injunction to do something. Something that provides direction or advice as to a decision or course of action. A message describing how something is to be done. He gave directions faster than she could follow them. A general course along which something has a tendency to develop. I couldn't follow the direction of his thoughts. The spatial relation between something and the course along which it points or moves. He checked the direction and velocity of the wind. Space for movement. Make way for. A course of conduct. We went our separate ways. Thing or person that acts to produce a particular effect or achieve an end. The true way to success. A line leading to a place or point. Didn't know the way home. To a great degree or by a great distance. Very much, right smart, is regional in the United States. Way over budget. How something is done or how it happens. A lonely way of life. A general category of things, used in the expression, in the way of. They didn't have much in the way of clothing. A journey or passage. They are on the way. Any artifact consisting of a road or path affording passage from one place to another. He said he was looking for the way out. A portion of something divided into shares. They split the loot 3 ways. Doing as one pleases or chooses. If I had my way. The condition of things generally. That's the way it is. The property of distance in general. It's a long way to Moscow. A course of reasoning aimed at demonstrating a truth or falsehood. The methodical process of logical reasoning. I can't follow your line of reasoning. A slight depression or fold in the smoothness of a surface. His face has many lines. Mechanical system in a factory whereby an article is conveyed through sites at which successive operations are performed on it. A connected series of events or actions or developments. Historians can only point out those lines for which evidence is available. The road consisting of railroad track and roadbed. A conceptual separation or distinction. There is a narrow line between sanity and insanity. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. A conductor for transmitting electrical or optical signals or electric power. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. He's not in my line of business. Make a mark or lines on a surface. Draw a line. Often plural, a means of communication or access. Lines of communication were set up between the two firms. The descendants of one individual. His entire lineage has been warriors. Space for one line of print, 1 column wide and 1/14 inch deep, used to measure advertising. A short personal letter. Drop me a line when you get there. A telephone connection. Be in line with, form a line along. Trees line the riverbank. The maximum credit that a customer is allowed. A particular kind of product or merchandise. A nice line of shoes. A pipe used to transport liquids or gases. A pipeline runs from the wells to the seaport. A commercial organization serving as a common carrier. Acting in conformity. In line with. A formation of people or things one behind another. The line stretched clear around the corner. A formation of people or things one beside another. The line of soldiers advanced with their bayonets fixed. A fortified position, especially one marking the most forward position of troops. They attacked the enemy's line. A length, straight or curved, without breadth or thickness, the trace of a moving point. A mark that is long relative to its width. He drew a line on the chart. A single frequency, or very narrow band, of radiation in a spectrum. A spatial location defined by a real or imaginary unidimensional extent. Cover the interior of. Line the gloves. Fill plentifully. Line one's pockets. In games or sports, a mark indicating positions or bounds of the playing area. Mark with lines. Sorrow had lined his face. Persuasive but insincere talk that is usually intended to deceive or impress. Let me show you my etchings as a rather worn line. Reinforce with fabric. Lined books are more enduring. Something, as a cord or rope, that is long and thin and flexible. A washing line. Text consisting of a row of words written across a page or computer screen. The letter consisted of 3 short lines. A path or channel or duct through or along which something may pass. A passage between rooms or between buildings. Gear for a horse. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Turn into the wind. The sailors decided to tack the boat. Nautical. A line, rope or chain, that regulates the angle at which a sail is set in relation to the wind. Nautical. The act of changing tack. Create by putting components or members together. He tacked together some verses. Sew together loosely, with large stitches. Fix to. Attach. A short nail with a sharp point and a large head. Fasten with tacks. Tack the notice on the board. Sailing a zigzag course. The heading or position of a vessel relative to the trim of its sails. The heading or caption of a newspaper article. A heading of a subsection printed within the body of the text. Metal block that connects to a piston. It slides on parallel guides and moves a connecting rod back and forth. A heading of a subsection printed within the body of the text. The heading or caption of a newspaper article. Provide, a newspaper page or a story, with a headline. Publicize widely or highly, as if with a headline. The lower and stouter of the two glooms immediately enclosing the floret in most Gramineae. A subsidiary proposition that is assumed to be true in order to prove another proposition. The heading that indicates the subject of an annotation or a literary composition or a dictionary entry. A heading of a subdivision of a text. A heading of a subdivision of a text. A heading that names a statute or legislative bill. May give a brief summary of the matters it deals with. Designate by an identifying term. A legal document signed and sealed and delivered to effect a transfer of property and to show the legal right to possess it. He kept the title to his car in the glove compartment. The status of being a champion. He held the title for 2 years. An identifying appellation signifying status or function, e.g., Mr. or General. The professor didn't like his friends to use his formal title. An established or recognized right. He had no documents confirming his title to his father's estate. An informal right to something. His title to fame. Give a title to. A general or descriptive heading for a section of a written work. The novel had chapter titles. An appellation signifying nobility. Your Majesty is the appropriate title to use in addressing a king. The name of a work of art or literary composition, etc. He looked for books with the word jazz in the title. Usually plural, written material introduced into a movie or TV show to give credits or represent dialogue or explain an action. The titles go by faster than I can read. A heading that names a statute or legislative bill. May give a brief summary of the matters it deals with. An explanation or definition of an obscure word in a text. Adorn with ruby red color. An authoritative rule of conduct or procedure. A title or heading that is printed in red or in a special type. Category name. It is usually discussed under the rubric of functional obesity. Directions for the conduct of Christian church services, often printed in red in a prayer book. A heading printed at the top of every page, or every other page, of a book. A heading printed at the top of every page, or every other page, of a book. A heading that names a statute or legislative bill may give a brief summary of the matters it deals with. The act of extracting ores or coal, etc. from the earth. The site of an archaeological exploration. The act of digging. There's an interesting excavation going on near Princeton. A hole in the ground made by excavating. Laying explosive mines in concealed places to destroy enemy personnel and equipment. The act of extracting ores or coal, etc. from the earth.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.